Have you ever felt like you're constantly playing catch-up, always a step behind in a world where some people just seem to effortlessly command every room they walk into? Perhaps you've been in a conversation where your words were subtly twisted, or you found yourself second-guessing your own judgment, all without a single voice being raised. It's a common feeling, and it's not about luck or an inherent charisma. It's about understanding a deeper strategy. While most people tend to react impulsively, speaking too quickly, revealing too much, and losing their footing before they even realize the game has truly begun, you have the power to approach things differently. There's a quieter, more profound kind of power that comes not from overt force, but from profound self-mastery. What if you could perceive intentions and underlying motives long before a single word was spoken? Imagine having the ability to subtly shift the dynamics of any interaction without ever needing to raise your voice or assert dominance overtly. These aren't mere tricks or manipulative tactics. Instead, they are timeless, unshakable principles, deeply rooted in ancient Stoic wisdom. If you're tired of feeling tossed about by the currents of the world and are ready to navigate through life with unwavering purpose and intention, then this message is for you. These 6 profound insights are designed to fundamentally transform your understanding of what true power looks like and, more importantly, how you can embody it in your daily life. In today's fast-paced, often chaotic world, maintaining your composure and influence can feel like an uphill battle. We're constantly bombarded with information, opinions, and pressures that can easily throw us off balance. But what if there was a way to cultivate an inner fortress, a sense of calm and clarity that allows you to move through challenges with grace and strategic foresight? This isn't about becoming emotionless or detached. It's about developing an intentional presence that makes you both powerful and profoundly impactful. If you're ready to unlock a new level of self-control and influence that allows you to outsmart anyone, not through aggression, but through quiet wisdom, then join us here at StoicCraft. We believe in building a life of purpose, resilience, and quiet strength forged through the timeless principles of Stoic philosophy. Today, we're diving deep into 6 essential rules that will change how you approach power, interaction, and personal mastery. 1. Master emotional stillness. Think about those moments when someone you know unravels in a heated discussion. Their voice might rise, their tone becomes sharp, and their words grow frantic and desperate. This isn't a display of strength. It's quite the opposite. It's a clear sign that they've handed over their power, willingly or unwillingly, to the situation or the other person. In every setting, be it a casual conversation, a serious disagreement, or a high-stakes negotiation, the individual who maintains control over their emotions inevitably controls the outcome. This isn't because they dominate through sheer volume or aggressive posturing, but precisely because they remain composed and unwavering while everyone else around them loses their composure. True Stoic power begins with a foundational understanding. Emotions are not immutable facts. They are merely impressions, fleeting sparks of feeling that a wise and disciplined person observes with detachment, rather than obeying them blindly. You don't need to suppress or erase your emotions entirely. That's an unrealistic and unhealthy goal. What you need to do, however, is to learn how to command them. Consider a person who allows anger to dictate their actions. who reacts impulsively to every slight, or who chases every insult with a flurry of explanations or outbursts of rage. That person is in essence being ruled by external forces and by others' reactions. They become like a puppet with far too many strings attached, easily manipulated by those who know how to pull them. When you allow yourself to raise your voice in anger, you might experience a momentary surge of perceived power. But in reality, you've exposed a significant vulnerability. You've demonstrated that your inner state can be easily influenced and controlled by someone else's words or actions. This isn't Stoic mastery. It's a form of surrender. Emotional reactions are inherently predictable, and anything that is predictable is also vulnerable. The moment someone realizes they can upset you, provoke you, or steer your reactions, they gain a degree of control over you. They don't even need to defeat you. You'll essentially defeat yourself by reacting. Reflect on a recent time when you were drawn into an argument. Perhaps someone questioned your worth, insulted you, or mocked your efforts. And without a moment's hesitation, you responded, perhaps raising your voice or sending a sharp, retaliatory reply. Did that reaction bring you peace or a sense of resolution? More often than not, it pulls you off your chosen path and throws you into their arena on their terms. You stop acting from your own principles and values, and instead, you start reacting to external provocations. This is how many people lose their footing, not in grand public defeats, but in the quiet, internal battles. The Stoic, however, understands the deeper game. He waits, he watches, and he observes. He views an insult not as a personal attack, but as a test of his discipline, and anger as a cleverly disguised trap. He knows deep in his bones that quiet stillness and silence can convey far more power and authority than any shouting ever could. Imagine standing before someone who is actively trying to provoke you, yet your pulse remains steady, your breathing calm. You speak very little, perhaps offering a slight, unperturbed smile. You don't chase their chaos or engage in their emotional drama. Instead, you allow them to exhaust themselves while you remain unshaken. This precisely is what true internal control looks like. Some might argue that showing emotion makes you human, that it fosters connection, and yes, that can be true, but only when you are in deliberate control of when and how you choose to reveal your feelings. When you bleed your feelings out every time someone pushes your buttons, you become entirely readable. And what is readable is, by extension, controllable. A person whose emotional state can be easily discerned is a person who can be easily manipulated. In a Stoic life, emotional restraint isn't about being cold or uncaring. It's about rigorously preserving your inner equilibrium, your center. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, constantly reminded himself, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This isn't just a beautiful, poetic line. It's a profound strategic imperative for living. The world will inevitably prod you, push you, provoke you, challenge you. People will insult you, test your boundaries, and misunderstand your intentions. And each time they do, you face a critical choice. Do I respond impulsively, driven by immediate emotion, or do I respond from a place of inner discipline and thoughtful consideration? The individual who can pause even for a brief moment before speaking holds infinitely more power than the one who attempts to dominate a conversation with mere volume or aggression. Consider this scenario. Someone insults you in front of a group. Everyone expects you to retaliate, to defend yourself, to react. But instead, you remain silent. You simply look at them calmly, perhaps offer a brief nod, or even just quietly walk away. That silence, that unexpected non-reaction, echoes far longer and carries more weight than any words you could have uttered. They anticipated dragging you into their emotional arena, but instead, they find themselves standing alone, confused, and disarmed. This is how you shift the balance of power without resorting to force. You set the frame of the interaction, and the frame truly is everything. If you're constantly reacting to external stimuli, then someone else is dictating the terms of engagement. They decide what merits your attention, what issues are important. But when you master holding your emotions in check, when you remain perfectly composed and undisturbed, you, in effect, define the emotional environment. You determine what is significant and what is not, and most crucially, you determine who controls the very flow of the moment. Here's a difficult truth to confront. Most people are, in essence, slaves to their emotional reflexes. A sarcastic comment immediately makes them defensive. A dismissive tone triggers anger. A delay in response makes them anxious and insecure. They genuinely believe they are thinking and reasoning, but in reality, they are simply being swept along by every passing emotional current without question or critical thought. The Stoic person operates differently. He consciously decides what is truly worth his precious energy. He knows instinctively that not every slight is worth fighting, and not every opinion is worth engaging with. He allows others to reveal their true nature through their emotional noise, while he quietly builds his own power through cultivated stillness. If you aspire to command genuine respect, then refrain from emotionally explaining yourself. Don't feel the need to justify your worth through arguments or desperate pleas for validation. Your purpose isn't to win approval. It's to remain steadfast and grounded in your core values, even in the midst of confrontation. You don't need to meet fire with fire. Allow your calm presence to be your powerful message. Let your stillness make an undeniable statement. Observe as others grow increasingly uncomfortable, trying desperately to provoke a flinch from you, and then watch them crumble when your composure remains unbroken. Think like a seasoned general planning a long campaign, not a foot soldier caught in a skirmish. Let others expend their emotional ammunition, wasting their arrows on fleeting feelings while you meticulously prepare for the longer, more strategic engagement. Keep your tone level, your mind singularly focused, and your responses few and far between. When you do choose to speak, let your words be sharp, deliberate, and utterly impossible to ignore. Do not allow people to bait you into a reactive state. Instead, let them chase your silence, which will prove far more unsettling. There is an immense, almost unspoken power in this kind of restraint. It disarms potential attackers, subtly unsettles critics, and dramatically strengthens your posture in any room, in any interaction. When you choose to respond only when it is truly necessary and with a clear, deliberate purpose, people genuinely listen. They may not admit it openly, but deep down they recognize and respect such composure as a profound sign of depth and inner strength. So, the next time someone attempts to push your buttons, pause. Ask yourself, is this emotional reaction truly worthy of me, or is this simply a test of my discipline and self-control? You don't have to respond to every emotional storm. Sometimes the single most powerful thing you can do is absolutely nothing at all. That is how true power manifests in the Stoic world. It's not loud, it's not theatrical. It's still deliberate and utterly immovable. Begin with yourself. Hold the line within. The rest of the world will inevitably adjust to your unwavering presence. And once you master this fundamental principle, you'll be ready to learn the next crucial rule. 2. Let silence lead in a world perpetually rushing to speak, where every empty space feels like an invitation to fill it with words. Silence emerges as the rarest and, paradoxically, the most potent signal of strength. Many people mistakenly equate noise with influence, believing that the loudest voice holds the most sway. However, the Stoic knows better. True power doesn't reside in the sheer volume of your voice, but in the inherent weight and undeniable presence of your being. When you choose silence, you are not empty or devoid of thought. Quite the opposite. You are actively listening, observing intently, measuring the situation, and gathering information. While others rush to prove their worth, to assert their opinions, you conserve your precious energy, like a finely honed blade kept sharp and secure within its sheath, ready only for the precise moment it's needed. Look around you, and you'll see this phenomenon everywhere. Most people are genuinely terrified of silence. They scramble frantically to fill it, to escape the discomfort of uncertainty, to avoid the raw, unscripted space where things feel undefined. But that very uncertainty, that uncomfortable void, is precisely where you begin to gain an advantage. When you consciously choose to remain quiet, others inevitably project their own thoughts and anxieties onto you. They start to guess what you might be thinking, interpreting your stillness as a form of profound judgment, deep wisdom, or perhaps unsettling indifference. And the more they try to decipher your silence, the more they unwittingly reveal about themselves, not because you demanded it, but because they simply couldn't tolerate the powerful quiet you created. This is where the Stoic finds his most potent leverage. He doesn't interrupt, he doesn't speak simply to chase approval, nor does he feel the need to defend his ego. Instead, he observes with keen discernment. He allows the noise and chatter of others to expose their fears, their desires, and what they might be trying desperately to conceal. And then, when the perfect moment arrives for him to speak, his words strike with unparalleled clarity and impact, precisely because they are few, carefully chosen, and utterly deliberate. There's a legendary story of a Roman general who once attended a lengthy council meeting, not uttering a single word. His adversaries, mistaking his silence for weakness or indecision, felt emboldened. But when he finally broke his silence and spoke just one single, concise sentence, it immediately ended the entire argument, irrevocably shifted the direction of the military campaign, and instantly won him the profound loyalty of everyone in the room. This isn't just an inspiring anecdote. It's a profound strategic lesson. The Stoic doesn't speak merely to fill empty space. He speaks with the singular aim of creating maximum impact, and every moment of silence that precedes his words only serves to amplify their power and significance. Silence also serves as a potent test of one's inner strength and resolve. Can you sit across from someone, maintaining steady eye contact, and say absolutely nothing while allowing the discomfort to build, without rushing in to fix or alleviate it? Most people simply cannot. They begin to ramble, over-explaining trivial details, revealing information they never intended to, confessing weaknesses, softening their stance, or even negotiating with themselves, all just to escape the perceived pressure of the silence. And all you had to do was wait. All you had to do was hold your ground. In the delicate dance of negotiation, the person who speaks the least often emerges victorious. This isn't because they are being deceptive or secretive, but because they are anchoring the conversation, allowing the other party to rush forward, to reveal their hand, and to offer more than they initially intended or needed to. Only then does the Stoic speak with a precise simplicity, cutting straight through the extraneous details to the core truth. That kind of restraint is a profound form of power. That discipline is a highly effective mode of persuasion. Beyond high-pressure scenarios, silence continues to work its quiet magic in everyday life. In a business meeting, holding a thoughtful pause after a challenging question conveys that you are not eager to please or jump to conclusions. In a job interview, allowing a moment of quiet reflection before answering signals deep confidence, rather than confusion or uncertainty. And in general conversation, a person who speaks less is consistently valued more. Why? Because people intuitively sense that he isn't grasping for attention, he isn't desperately trying to be liked, and he doesn't feel the need to constantly prove himself. This is what makes silence so uniquely powerful. It is a direct reflection of inner sufficiency and self-possession. When you don't feel compelled to respond to every single comment, when you don't flinch at every passing remark, people notice. They start to treat you differently. They lean in when you finally speak. They patiently wait for your opinion, and they scrutinize your reactions. And when they get no overt reaction, they begin to question their own assumptions and expectations. The Stoics taught us that true control originates from within, and silence is one of the purest and most undeniable manifestations of that internal mastery. It's not passive. It's an active position, a deliberate tactic, a rigorous discipline. It quietly but firmly declares, I know who I am. I understand what truly matters, and I don't need to perform for your understanding or approval. And here's a deeper, more profound truth. When you are constantly talking, you become commonplace, predictable, and easily accessible. But when you speak with deliberate restraint, you become rare, enigmatic, and profoundly impactful. In this world, rarity consistently commands respect. Allow your voice to be something earned, something cherished, not something thoughtlessly spilled in every direction. Let others be drawn to you. Let them wonder about your thoughts. Let them put in the effort to truly understand your perspective, because what is scarce inevitably becomes more valuable. Silence creates powerful contrast. It gives shape and gravitas to your chosen words and profound meaning to your very presence. Without it, your speech can quickly become mere noise. But with intentional silence, even a single well-placed phrase can instantly shift the entire energy of a room. The ultimate goal isn't to be mute or unresponsive. It's to be meticulously measured, to grasp that timing matters just as much, if not more, than the content of your words. And when you finally speak after holding your silence, like a hidden blade unleashing it at precisely the right moment, the effect is truly unforgettable. So, discipline yourself. Learn to be still and composed in a room that desperately craves sound. Let others stumble over their desperate need to be heard and understood. Let them fill the air with their chatter, while you stand firm and unmoving in your grounded presence. And when you do finally speak, make every single word count, as if it were chosen in the heat of a critical battle. This is far more than just conversation. It is strategic communication. It is unwavering composure. It is subtle dominance achieved through profound stillness. Master silence, and you will no longer need to convince. You will simply command. And from that position of serene strength, you are ready to embrace the next vital rule. 3. Be strategically misunderstood. There exists a quiet, unassuming kind of strength that never feels the need to announce itself or loudly proclaim its presence. It doesn't need to. This power simply watches in silence, allows others to speak freely, and lets them make their own assumptions, all while quietly controlling the entire field from the subtle shadows. This is the refined art of psychological misdirection, a profoundly effective Stoic weapon built on perception and disciplined restraint. It's not about outright deception. Rather, it's about a deep, rigorous discipline. The discipline to remain inherently unreadable, to hold back just enough truth and information that others feel compelled to fill in the blanks on their own. And it is precisely in that space, the gap between what they believe they know and what is truly real, that you subtly take control. Most people navigate through life as if they are open books, their inner thoughts and feelings readily accessible. What they feel is often clearly written on their faces, and what they believe is broadcast in every word they utter. Their strengths, their hidden insecurities, their fleeting thoughts, all are laid bare for the world to see. While there's a certain honesty in that transparency, it also comes with significant exposure and predictability. And anything that is predictable can, by its very nature, be outmaneuvered. The Stoic understands that true power doesn't always lie in what is overtly shown or loudly proclaimed. Often, its greatest force lies in what is carefully held back and what remains unrevealed. You don't need to impress anyone. You don't need to endlessly prove your worth. You simply need to remain poised and composed while others unwittingly reveal their true selves. Allow them to misjudge you. Let them assume you are slower, softer, perhaps less prepared or less capable than you truly are. Let them believe you are disinterested, uninformed, or even a bit naive. This carefully cultivated illusion becomes your strategic cover. It subtly lowers their defenses, causing them to relax and speak more freely, more carelessly. And in that misguided comfort, they inevitably slip up. They speak without thinking. They reveal vulnerabilities, and they show you who they truly are, not because you forced them to, but because you allowed them to operate under the comforting belief that they were in complete control. Meanwhile, you are meticulously watching, listening intently, and quietly remembering every detail. And then, when the moment demands it most, you make your decisive move. There's an ancient Roman wisdom embedded in this approach, a subtle insight that Marcus Aurelius likely alluded to when he wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." In other words, do not mirror the aggression. Do not retaliate in kind. Do not reveal your full hand prematurely. Instead, remain perfectly still. Let them mistakenly believe that the game is entirely theirs, and when the opportune moment presents itself, reveal a sharpness, a depth, or a capability they never once saw coming. This strategy isn't about adopting a false persona. It's about a profound understanding of when and how to reveal certain aspects of yourself, and when it is most strategic to keep the rest carefully concealed. You might intentionally downplay your knowledge in a casual conversation, not out of false humility, but to observe who among them overstates their own. You might allow someone to believe for a fleeting moment that they have outsmarted you, simply to witness how their burgeoning overconfidence exposes the critical flaws in their own thinking. You might publicly agree with a proposition while privately reserving your true conclusions until you have gathered sufficient information and context to act decisively. All of these are forms of psychological misdirection, but they are executed with a clear purpose, never with malicious deceit. The average person plays the game of life in straight, predictable lines. What they say is precisely what they mean, and what they feel is immediately what they show. But you are not average. You are deliberate. Where others rush, you pause. Where they react with unbridled emotion, you remain deeply centered. You offer just enough information to keep them guessing, but never enough to be fully known. Because when you are fully known, you become vulnerable. And when you are strategically misunderstood by your own careful design, you become virtually untouchable. Think of the quiet, observant person in a room full of animated talkers. He nods occasionally, he listens intently, and people speak freely and openly around him because he gives nothing away. They mistakenly interpret his calm demeanor as mere passivity or lack of engagement. But what they fail to see is the precise calculation at play. Every word, every subtle gesture, every fleeting glance is meticulously noted, stored, and analyzed. And when the time comes, he speaks clearly, concisely, and with undeniable authority, and the entire room instinctively turns its attention to him, not because he was the loudest, but because he was profoundly precise. Even in moments of direct confrontation, this tactic holds immense power. When someone tries to push your buttons, insult you, or aggressively provoke a reaction, you give them nothing. Instead of resistance, you offer them a simple nod, not of agreement, but of profound indifference. That silence, that unwavering stillness, subtly unsettles them. They expect defiance, an argument, a fight. Instead, they are met with unflappable composure. And it is in that moment of cognitive dissonance that they begin to doubt themselves, not you. That doubt creates hesitation. That hesitation gives you crucial space. And that space is all you need to recalibrate and respond on your own terms. The most effective kind of misdirection isn't about pretending to be someone you're not. It's about expertly withholding just enough information so that people draw their own, often incorrect, conclusions. And by the time they realize their mistake, it's already too late. You've already strategically positioned yourself exactly where you need to be. This isn't crude manipulation. It's a masterful command of impression and perception. In a world that often rewards noise, speed, and constant self-promotion, your thoughtful restraint becomes your ultimate leverage. The Stoic doesn't overtly display his strength until the moment unequivocally demands it. He is perfectly willing to be overlooked, underestimated, or even dismissed because he knows with quiet certainty that the moment of his true revelation is inevitably coming. And when it does arrive, it strikes with far greater impact because no one saw it coming. You don't need to dominate every single conversation, nor do you need to endlessly chase external recognition. You simply need to remain patient, purposeful, and perfectly unreadable until it truly matters. So, cultivate the discipline to let others reveal themselves. Let them talk. Let them assume. Let them confidently believe they have you all figured out. And while they are engaged in that process, you watch, you prepare, and you wait. Because the one who seems harmless is rarely guarded against. And when the true edge is finally revealed, it is 10 times sharper than anticipated. Let this profound lesson serve as a constant reminder. Power is not always about overt presence. Sometimes it is deeply rooted in absence, in what is not said, not shown, not explicitly explained. In that subtly created space, you gain unparalleled clarity, and in that clarity, you gain an undeniable advantage. And with that advantage, you step forward, fully prepared for the next crucial rule. 4. Turn absence into strength. What is seen too often, or is constantly available, inevitably begins to lose its inherent weight and significance. What is always accessible quickly becomes ordinary, even unremarkable. In a world that is utterly obsessed with constant presence and visibility, the individual who strategically manages their availability becomes truly unforgettable. Scarcity, when applied with a deliberate Stoic intention, is not merely a tactic to appear aloof or unapproachable. Rather, it is a profound and deliberate form of self-discipline. It subtly communicates a powerful message. My time, my presence, my attention, these are not commodities given freely to just anyone. They are earned, and they are always carefully measured. Most people, without much thought, give themselves away too freely. They feel compelled to respond to every single message, to show up at every gathering, to fill every moment of silence with their voice, not because it is genuinely needed or adds value, but often because they harbor a deep-seated fear of being forgotten or overlooked. They mistakenly equate constant presence with genuine influence, but what they actually end up creating is a predictable pattern of behavior. And from a Stoic perspective, anything that is predictable eventually becomes powerless. You don't need to be everywhere or visible at all times to be remembered. In fact, paradoxically, the less they see you, the more profoundly they begin to notice your absence. And absence, when consciously chosen and wisely deployed, can speak far louder and more powerfully than any desperate attempt at continuous visibility. It forces others to wonder about you, to genuinely think about your perspective, to ask questions they would never bother asking if you were simply always around and easily accessible. That very mystery becomes your most potent advantage. The less explicit information you provide, the more others are compelled to project value, importance, and intrigue onto you, not because you explicitly claimed it, but because you artfully withheld just enough to make them fill in the valuable gaps with their own favorable interpretations. This principle works so powerfully because human nature, when left untrained by reason, consistently chases what appears limited or scarce. When you become selective with your precious energy, when you cease feeling the need to explain every single decision or respond to every casual invitation, you send a subtle yet undeniably powerful signal that your life is governed by a clear set of priorities, not by external demands or the whims of others. Consider the compelling example of a person who speaks rarely in meetings. While others eagerly rush to contribute and be seen, he patiently waits, he listens intently, and when he finally chooses to speak, the entire room immediately quiets down and leans in. Not because he demanded their attention, but because he meticulously earned it through his disciplined silence and impeccable timing. His presence feels weighty, substantial, and impactful, not scattered or diluted. And his opinions are perceived as genuinely valuable, not repetitive or superfluous. That is the transformative effect of scarcity. It's not about absence for the sake of an artificial mystery. It's about aligning your presence precisely with your purpose and highest values. Epictetus, another great Stoic, wisely reminds us, if you wish to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Why? Because it means you have liberated yourself from the incessant need for external validation and the desperate urge to be seen by everyone. You have consciously withdrawn from that demanding need, and that withdrawal, when executed with clarity and intention, makes your presence feel truly sacred. Scarcity also serves to teach others how they should treat you. If your time and availability are always boundless and freely given, people will invariably treat it as if it holds little to no value. They will casually cancel, perpetually delay, or thoughtlessly overstep boundaries because you, by your constant availability, have implicitly taught them that there is no real cost to their actions. But when you establish clear, firm limits, when you consciously pause before replying to a message, when you deliberately reserve your energy for only what truly matters, people adapt their behavior. They come prepared for interactions. They listen more attentively, and they carefully measure their words because they instinctively know that your words are not given lightly or without purpose. This applies even to the nuances of daily conversation. A person who speaks with thoughtful restraint compels others to lean in, both literally and figuratively. His words are not easily forgotten because they are never wasted. He becomes someone whose very silence carries profound meaning and whose speech, when it comes, carries undeniable weight and authority. That is scarcity in motion, a powerful kind of presence that communicates more through what is consciously withheld than through what is overtly expressed. Consider how elite circles and exclusive communities operate on this very principle. Not everyone is granted access. Not everything is openly explained or transparently revealed. The rules are often unspoken, the doors are carefully guarded, and the quiet, almost impenetrable silence surrounding them speaks far louder and more effectively than any advertisement ever could. This isn't about arrogance or elitism. It's about diligently preserving the intrinsic value of what is rare and exceptional. Apply this powerful principle to your own life. Deliberately pull back from the incessant noise and digital chatter. You don't need to post every detail of your life on social media. You don't need to be constantly reachable at all hours of the day. You certainly don't need to explain your every disappearance. Sometimes just disappear and allow your silence to do the speaking for you. Reappear when it truly matters and let your presence feel like a significant event, not just a mundane routine. This isn't about playing manipulative games. It's about consciously training others to perceive you as someone whose time is sacred, whose focus is unwavering and not scattered, and whose attention is not for sale. When people observe that you operate on your own carefully crafted schedule, that you are not desperately begging to be included or seeking external validation, they begin to genuinely respect the intrinsic force that drives you. They stop assuming automatic access and start actively earning your presence. And most importantly, you begin to protect and fortify your own precious energy. You stop frantically running toward every fleeting opportunity to be seen and instead begin walking with clear intention toward what profoundly aligns with your highest standards and deepest values. You don't dilute your presence. You rigorously refine it. Let others rush headlong into every situation, exhausting themselves in the endless pursuit of external attention. You, however, remain silent, measured, and deeply grounded. And when you do finally move with an unmistakable clarity and purpose. Because in a world overflowing with noise and overexposure, the person who remains rare and intentional becomes revered. Let this principle always remind you, you don't need to be seen by everyone. You need only to be remembered by the right ones. And now that you've mastered the art of strategic scarcity, you are fully prepared to uncover the next profound principle of unshakable power. 5. Lead quietly through reflection. There exists a quiet, almost imperceptible kind of strength that never resorts to shouting or direct confrontation. It doesn't loudly demand authority or overtly impose control. Instead, it moves with the subtle grace of water, patient, adaptable, and remarkably precise. This is the profound strength of mirroring, a powerful Stoic concept that helps you influence others without force. A true Stoic understands that authentic influence doesn't always flow from overt force or aggressive assertion. Sometimes the single most effective way to lead is to gently reflect what is already in front of you, to guide it subtly, and to allow the other person to feel as if the idea or direction was entirely their own all along. People naturally trust what feels familiar and comfortable to them. When they sense that you speak like them, move with a similar cadence, or even pause where they would naturally pause, something deep inside them disarms. Their natural resistance begins to melt away. They feel genuinely seen, truly understood. And once someone experiences that profound sense of being understood, you've crossed a crucial threshold that no amount of argument or logical persuasion could ever open. The Stoic doesn't feel the need to win debates or verbally dominate. He wins minds and builds bridges by creating an environment where others feel inherently safe and understood in his presence. And mirroring not crude mimicry, but a calibrated, Empathetic alignment is precisely what fosters that profound sense of safety that it begins with meticulous, empathetic observation. You keenly notice the subtleties, how someone sits, the specific ways they phrase their thoughts, the speed or slowness of their speech, whether their energy level is high or low. Then you gently and subtly match it, not like a puppet mechanically copying movements, nor as a manipulative game, but with a deliberate, genuine presence. Just enough alignment for them to instinctively think, this person truly understands me. And that precise moment of recognition, however small or seemingly insignificant, opens doors that brute force or aggressive tactics would slam shut. Everyone, deep down, yearns to be understood, even if they don't consciously admit it, and it's profoundly true. If you enter a conversation with too much stark difference too quickly, too intensely, too polished, too fast, they will immediately erect defensive walls. But if you meet them where they are, in their natural rhythm, their tone, or their body language, they begin to soften. They relax into the moment. And in that quiet stillness, you find your opening, your opportunity to connect dot from this point. Something almost invisible, yet incredibly powerful, begins to happen. They subtly start to follow your lead, not because you are aggressively pushing them, but because you have meticulously created a deep subconscious alignment. Influence, after all, isn't about rigid control. It's about guiding movement. And when someone feels emotionally safe and deeply understood, they will naturally move with you in your direction. That is the profound power of mirroring. It builds genuine rapport without demanding it. It fosters deep trust without exerting pressure. You haven't forcefully taken control. They have, in essence, willingly handed it to you. This is especially potent in the subtle, unspoken power dynamics that permeate our interactions. The Stoic knows that true dominance doesn't come from raising one's voice, from physically taking up more space, or from aggressive displays. It comes from the ability to gently guide the underlying tone and direction of a conversation without the other person even consciously noticing it. You might slightly shift the rhythm of the interaction, slow your own speech, or ask one truly thoughtful, open-ended question. And if they subtly follow suit in their speech patterns, their posture, their tone, you know instinctively that you are in a position of influence. If they don't, you adjust your approach, you wait, you remain present and open. This is not about superficial performance. It's a deep strategy cloaked in quiet stillness. Even in moments of direct conflict, mirroring becomes your quiet, impenetrable shield. When someone approaches you emotionally charged, reactive, and ready for an argument, you meet their initial intensity for just a brief moment. Not to escalate the fight, but simply to acknowledge their emotional state. And then, like a Stoic, wisely navigating a storm, you gently lower your own energy. You slow your voice, and you create a profound sense of calm within yourself first. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, they will begin to follow your lead, not because they have overtly lost the argument, but because you have offered them something far steadier and more grounding to match. This is how you effectively de-escalate a situation without ever needing to draw a weapon or engage in direct combat. You gently lead them out of their own emotional fire by stepping in just long enough to show them a more peaceful way out. The Same powerful principle holds true in the art of persuasion. You can possess the most logically sound argument in the entire world, but if you are out of sync with the person in front of you, they simply will not hear you. Your words will bounce off their emotional armor. But when you first genuinely reflect, their tempo, acknowledge their underlying concerns, or even briefly step into their worldview, their guard drops. And that, precisely, is when your words can truly enter and take root. Stoic influence doesn't work through fleeting emotional appeal or passionate rhetoric. It works through a grounded, unwavering presence. A deeply centered person speaks, less to simply be heard and more to be profoundly felt. Once mirroring has successfully established a foundation of trust and rapport, you can subtly begin to steer the conversation. You might gently change the pace, shift to a new topic, or subtly adjust the overall tone. You become like a skilled conductor, artfully shaping the rhythm and flow of the entire conversation. They might simply think it was a productive and enjoyable talk, but you quietly orchestrated the entire flow from the very first word. And this is not manipulation in a negative sense. It is a moral and effective strategy. You are not leading people for selfish personal gain. Instead, you are guiding them because clarity, calm, and genuine connection are inherently far more effective and sustainable than argument, aggressive volume, or misplaced pride. And here's the deeper, most significant truth. People remember how they felt in your presence far more vividly than they remember what you actually said. Mirroring isn't about being universally liked. It's about achieving genuine alignment. And when someone feels deeply aligned with you, they inherently trust you, even if they can't fully articulate why. That is when your influence becomes effortless, almost natural. You don't have to cajole, you don't have to convince, you don't have to argue. You simply stand in quiet, grounded authority, and they will instinctively walk beside you without resistance. The Stoic does not crave the spotlight or external validation. He quietly shapes the moment without needing to claim overt credit. He profoundly understands that true guidance doesn't always come with official titles or explicit control. Sometimes it begins with thoughtful silence, with a grounded presence, and with the remarkable ability to calmly mirror others, then gently lead. In doing so, he becomes the still, unwavering point in the midst of chaos, the one others instinctively lean toward without even fully knowing why. So the next time you enter any conversation, resist the urge to immediately rush in and be heard. Instead, watch carefully, listen intently, reflect empathetically, and then gently guide. Remember this profound truth. When you master the subtle rhythm of others, you begin to shape the flow of everything around you. From this powerful position, the next level of enduring influence becomes truly possible. You are no longer frantically chasing control. You are quietly, deliberately walking it directly into the palm of your hand. 6. Walk away with clarity. True power is not solely defined by action or by constant presence. Sometimes its most profound manifestation lies in absence. A Stoic individual fundamentally understands that strength isn't just about knowing the precise moment to speak or to act decisively. It's also about possessing the unwavering clarity to know exactly when to leave. The most formidable and impactful presence in any room is often the one that doesn't feel any desperate need to stay. This person is emotionally unattached, intellectually undisturbed, and utterly unmoved by external outcomes or the need for specific results. They are not present to prove anything to anyone. They are there because of their principles, their values, and their purpose. And when those core principles are violated, they don't engage in futile arguments. They simply calmly exit. Most people cling to relationships, professional positions, ongoing conversations, and even conflicts long past the point where any genuine value or meaning remains. They do so not out of a deep belief in the situation itself, but overwhelmingly because they harbor a profound fear of losing what they have, however unsatisfying it may be. This fear keeps them trapped in exhausting cycles of compromise, often mistaking suffering and endurance for loyalty or resilience. They tolerate situations they should undoubtedly walk away from, and they accept circumstances they would never, in good conscience, advise others to endure. This isn't true resilience. It's a quiet desperation, deceptively dressed up as patience. However, the individual with a clear plan, the one who has diligently trained his mind and meticulously clarified his core values, intrinsically understands the immense liberating power of walking away. He doesn't create a dramatic scene, nor does he needlessly burn bridges behind him. Instead, he simply removes himself with such unwavering clarity and calm that the silence left in his wake speaks volumes louder and more persuasively than any argument ever could. His absence creates a palpable pressure, and his deliberate withdrawal forces a profound reflection in others. It leaves them questioning their own position and actions, not his. This approach isn't about being cold or uncaring. It's about operating with absolute clarity and self-respect. You have already meticulously set your terms. You know precisely what aligns with your chosen direction and what fundamentally does not. So when something undeniably violates that internal compass, you don't plead, and you don't feel the need to offer exhaustive explanations. You simply depart. That, truly, is the highest form of self-discipline, to leave, not driven by fleeting emotion, but guided by unwavering reason. Whether it's a conversation that has become utterly fruitless, a business deal that wastes your invaluable time and energy, or a personal connection that continuously drains your inner peace, you don't attempt to fix everything. You assess the situation objectively, you make a clear decision, and then you calmly exit. Not out of bitterness, but out of a profound sense of self-respect and self-preservation. You have already put in the difficult work of deciding what you will accept and what you will not. Because of that crucial internal preparation, you never feel trapped or forced into situations that compromise your well-being. This profound clarity makes you inherently unpredictable, not in an erratic sense, but in an unconstrained one. People can instinctively sense when you don't desperately need them, when your happiness and well-being aren't dependent on their presence or approval. And in that very moment, everything subtly shifts. In business, your terms become undeniably stronger. In relationships, your presence commands a deeper, more genuine respect. In every social setting, you move with a quiet, undeniable authority. Why? Because you are not ruled by the paralyzing fear of exclusion or rejection. You have meticulously built your life in such a way that no external attachment or outcome can ever truly control your inner state or peace of mind. Even in the throes of an argument, the truly wise person knows that sometimes the single most powerful response is a thoughtful silence, immediately followed by a deliberate departure. Let them raise their voice. Let them spin their narratives. Let them try to control the story. You, however, simply walk away and allow the resulting emptiness to do the speaking for you. And later, when they replay the moment in their minds, wondering why you didn't stay and fight, that powerful silence becomes your lingering echo. That deliberate absence becomes your indelible imprint. Walking away, when done with clarity, actively protects your future. It safeguards your precious time, preserves your mental clarity, and defends your vital energy. It shields you from the corrosive bitterness that comes from prolonged endurance, because you made the conscious choice to leave. Before you were completely drained, you turned the page decisively when the story no longer served your personal growth or highest good. And that, truly, is what people notice, even if they never openly say it. They recognize the person who isn't desperate, who doesn't cling to what no longer serves. Then, who isn't afraid to walk away from what is unhealthy or unproductive. And when they know, deep down, that you are capable of leaving, they begin to treat your presence with a profound sense of reverence and appreciation. That is the quiet, undeniable power of the graceful exit. And from that place of inner stillness, you move forward, fully prepared for whatever challenges and opportunities come next. True power doesn't need to shout for attention. It moves quietly, sees clearly, and chooses wisely. These 6 fundamental rules are not mere tactics for domination or manipulation. Instead, they are profound disciplines of presence, rigorously sharpened by deliberate restraint and consistently guided by unwavering reason. When you master your emotions, choose to speak less deliberately. Allow others to strategically misjudge you. Cultivate your personal absence into strength. Lead subtly through empathetic reflection, and possess the profound clarity to know when to gracefully walk away. You no longer simply react to the world around you. Instead, you begin to consciously and intentionally shape it. Most people live perpetually on the surface, constantly caught in the noise and chaos, trapped by their desperate need to be constantly seen and validated. But you now carry the deep, abiding calm of a person who truly knows himself, who operates from a place of inner mastery. If this message resonated deeply within you, take a moment. Take a breath and let these insights settle within your mind and spirit. Subscribe to StoicCraft if you're ready to continue sharpening this invaluable edge and deepen your journey of self-mastery. And drop a comment below saying, "I am anchored," to solidify these principles in your mind. The world doesn't need another loud voice trying desperately to prove something. What it truly needs is a powerful, intentional presence that simply cannot be ignored. Be that presence, and we'll see you in the next lesson.